Hey there! Is today your first time here? Or maybe your first time in a while? If so, maybe you're wondering exactly who we are and what this church is all about. Well, we'd like you to know that we're a group of ordinary people who are on an amazing journey together, following Christ. Our guide is the Bible because it's the divinely inspired Word of God, and it will never take us in the wrong direction. Along the way, we hope you'll see that we are welcoming and spiritually passionate, and that getting to know you is a big deal to us. We know that the road is rough sometimes, but we'll work really hard to bring you practical and relevant messages to equip and encourage you through life's ups and downs. We want you to know that we care about this community, and we believe that it's our job to make it a better place. So no matter who you are or where you've been, we're glad you're here with us today, and we hope that you'll join us on our journey, following Christ and living out His plan for us. So welcome to church.
Welcome to another Know My Faith Monday podcast, and my guest today is Ian Sinclair from Church Online, from New Zealand Christian
events and conferences.
And you've got regional ones as well.
Yes, a few regional ones.
Right, so welcome to the podcast.
Hi Rob, good to be here.
Right, your turn.
Right, today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. Usually on Know My Faith, Rob interviews a whole lot of guests, but today we're going to be interviewing Rob.
It's a bit strange, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I was trying to figure out when you and I met. We were talking about this over coffee before, and I'm pretty sure it was at what is now Elevate, but was the Christian Ministries with the Disabled Trust.
Yes.
In, is it Mount Roskill or Mount Smart?
Mount Smart.
The Mount
Road.
Smart, yeah. Yeah, way back in 1995, maybe?
No, I came to Auckland in 2003.
Did you? Okay, so it'll be a bit later than that.
A bit later than that.
Yeah. And then when I was at REMA, you were working for Vision New Zealand.
Vision Network of New Zealand, which is now Christian Network, New Zealand Christian Network.
Right, exactly. And so what you're doing now is this Church Online.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So how that all came about was I had actually been involved last year in another online church that someone had started when we all had COVID came around and lockdown happened.
Yep.
And I was involved with that, and that sort of gave me a bit of experience of doing church online and how that all worked. And I really felt God speak to me this year about starting my own church online, and so I called it Church Online New Zealand.
Yep.
And what I have, I've started out, and I think it's done really well because I upgraded some gear towards the end of last year, and a new computer and HD webcam so that I could do Church Online New Zealand really well.
That's good. And you're getting quite a few followers?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with how it's going at the moment.
Yeah, it's amazing how God's moved us around, isn't it?
Yes. I think technology's played an even greater part since COVID now. I see a lot of churches going online now and spreading the gospel.
Yeah, we were kind of forced to, because churches were doing it anyway.
Yes.
And some of the bigger churches, and some of those turned into regular TV programs. Tak Bana is a great example.
Yes.
And I'm trying to remember his guy from the North Shore in Auckland.
Peter Mortlock?
Not Peter, no, the other one. There's another one. But it's the same thing. I mean, they were putting it online for their own churches anyway.
Yes.
But now you've got a whole lot of smaller churches, and you've even got people, like yourself are doing church online. You've got people doing it in their own lounges.
Yes.
Songs and sermons and all this sort of stuff, which we never would have done if it hadn't been for COVID.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now out of that, I see that Shine TV putting on churches on their TV regularly every Sunday.
Okay. Right. New Zealand churches.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah,
Sunday
excellent.
morning up to Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got a whole variety there. You've got Life, you've got Equippers.
Yeah.
I think Arise Church have just come online there
Okay.
on Shine TV.
Yeah. For those people that are not computer savvy, because we were talking about the Christian Ministry, Elevate Trust annual camp,
Yes.
which happens at Totra Springs every year, but it didn't happen last year because of COVID.
No, last year they did it over Zoom.
Yeah, which was, for some people, like for one of the ladies I worked with, it was a little bit annoying because she's not computer savvy. She's not, she doesn't have a computer there or a support worker on the weekend
No.
to turn it all on. So having it on something like Shine TV where you can just click it on is great. Yeah.
Be great, yes.
Right, we're just reminiscing about old days. So
Yeah, I was actually involved last year with the online meeting they had. Although I wasn't directly involved where it was being broadcast from, I was at the centre, the Elevate Centre on Mount Smart Road, where I set up a camera, and so when they crossed over to us, they were able to see us, and everyone said hi. And I think a few other branches also had gatherings so that people who didn't have the technology could be there and participate.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was good that could happen. So we don't know what's going to happen this year, though.
Yeah, don't know at the moment.
No. Anyway, look, I'll hand over to you now for Church Online. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good.
So that's my podcast done with. I'll leave now. No.
I don't think we've finished yet, Rob.
No.
So we are going to interview Rob, but just before we do that, Rob's just asked me to share about Church Online New Zealand. So Church Online New Zealand is online church, obviously. So we don't have physical gatherings, but it's just online, live streamed on Facebook and YouTube and Church Online platform. And you're welcome to join in. The links to our Facebook page you can find if you go on our live stream website, which is newzealand.online.church.
Yep. Or just click the link. We'll have the links down here in the.
Yes. And I think Rob also mentioned that I run New Zealand Christian events and conferences.
That's
right. Yes. So that's been running for a few years. And so that's just a way for people to find out about Christian events happening around the country. In the old days, churches used to have notice boards about what was happening in their city and that. But if you go to churches these days, you don't find any notice boards there.
There's not so much. And of course, people used, when I was on Rema, they had the church notice board there. Star still do it, I think. But if I remember correctly, one of the posts that you put there on the Christian events, New Zealand Christian events online page, is that you were blown away by the number of events that were happening around the country.
Yes.
And you've had to actually create regional pages now.
Yes, we do have a few regional pages.
Yeah.
So we've got Auckland, Christchurch, Hawke's Bay.
Bay of Plenty.
Bay of Plenty, yes. Yeah. There are some other, couple of other regions as well, not run by myself or the other admin that runs those.
Okay.
So there's I found Wellington and Dunedin.
Oh, so they're doing their own thing.
Yes.
Yep. Excellent. Everybody doing their own little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what makes the body of Christ grow. People say, why do you have different denominations in churches? And I normally use ice cream. So what's your favourite flavour of ice cream?
Goody Goody Gumdrops.
Seriously? Oh, no, that's right. So mine is Hokey Pokey, right? Now, I don't know if I could handle a Goody Goody Gumdrops church, right? I could maybe handle an orange choc chip church or a passion fruit church. Chocolate church? No, but give me, so I prefer Hokey Pokey.
I do like orange choc chip too.
There we go. So we could both go to an orange choc chip church.
Yes.
But this is the same with denominations. This is the way I feel comfortable worshipping.
Yes.
Right. I could worship the way you worship. It would be a little uncomfortable, but I could still worship God doing that way.
Yes.
This way, I don't think I could. That's fine for you to do that.
Yes.
And all love and power to you, but please don't ask me to do it. And so this is what makes us all different.
Different, yes.
But all different, but all the same. So it's great that other people with the online stuff are going, okay, well, let's just do the same thing that Ian's doing,
Yes. And I think internet evangelism does have a purpose, especially reaching those who may not have been in church in a while or have fallen away from their faith.
Yeah, yeah. It's to me, it's intentional, and I think we were talking about this before over coffee. It's the intention to see somebody else come to know the Lord.
Yes, I don't see it as a replacement for physical church, but hopefully something that the Lord can use to draw people to Him, and then they will go find a physical church to join and be a part of.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the problems I have when I'm traveling around speaking in churches and speaking to small groups and even one-on-one, is trying to say to Christians, your role is not to sit here waiting for the rapture.
Yes.
Your role is to go out and make disciples.
Yes.
I was saying to Don last night, it was John Dunning, I was saying last night when we were out for dinner. When I was preaching, when I was pastoring the Kadikati Christian Centre, and we got to Matthew 24, and I said, look, we know that no one knows the hour of the day that Jesus is coming back.
Yes.
But imagine, Ian, if I told you that the Lord said to me this morning, right, that He's not coming back for 20 years. Right? What's your role today? Go and make disciples.
Yes.
Right? Imagine if I said, Ian, the Lord spoke to me this morning and He said He's coming back at 2:00 this afternoon. What's your role for the rest of today? Go and make disciples.
Yes.
Right? Nothing changes. But what we see our role is sitting in church. Come on.
Thinking about lunch.
It's for second coming. Come on, it's 2021, time for the second coming.
Yes.
And we're just sitting. It's all about me going to heaven when I die.
So yes, I think the Church Online does have a part to play, and I run that on Sunday evenings, and I attend a physical church Sunday morning because I believe it's important to fellowship and have input from the Word of God.
Yeah. Yeah, which we should do, and it's good to get that. And there's a lot of Christians nowadays, they step out of church.
Yes.
They go, no, I'll just do everything online. You don't get fellowship, true fellowship online.
No, you can't just sit at home and do church in your PJs.
No, that's true. Please don't come to church in your PJs. Oh dear. But it's so what drives you with Church Online?
Really, I like technology. I've had a passion for it since I was younger, and I sort of see that technology and my love for Jesus can be used to be able to evangelize and reach people for Jesus.
Yep. And that's the whole thing, is it? Reach people for Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. I should let you ask me some questions now, because that's what you wanted to do.
Yes. A lot of people may know that you used to work for Rema, but I think a lot of people don't really know a lot about how you came to know the Lord. So maybe you could share a bit with us about how you met the Lord and got saved, and share a bit of your testimony with us.
I grew up in a Christian family. I grew up in Dunedin. Go Dunedin, Ravensbourne, and if coming to know the Lord's a difficult thing, because I've always known that Jesus was God, because I grew up in a Christian family. Billy Graham came to New Zealand in 1969, I think it was, and I went forward and gave my heart to the Lord at that age.
Yes.
But when people ask me, when did you become a Christian, my response is normally, which time? Because I certainly didn't behave as a Christian for a lot of my teenage years and 20s.
Yes.
It was interesting. Somebody asked me once, they said, when you were doing all those other things, the drugs and the booze and all of that, were you still, or did you still believe in God? And I thought that's a good question. I never stopped believing that Jesus was Lord. I never stopped believing that Jesus died for me to pay the price for my sins. I just, as A.W. Tozer says one time, he says, you don't lose your faith when you backslide. You just stop being driven by it.
Yes.
And so I put Jesus on the back burner for many, many years. And I finally discovered, probably in my late 20s, early 30s, that being a Christian is not just believing that Jesus is Lord. It's following Him and doing what He says.
Yes.
And see, that's what drives me. I've got just open here this passage in the Bible is, to me, is this. It's got the scariest word in the Bible, and the word is many. In Matthew 7, Jesus says, "Not everyone that calls out, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven. Only those who actually do the will of my Father in heaven." Right? And this is one of the things we do with Know My Faith is we try and teach the cultural understanding and historic context of the scriptures. So when in Hebrew, they didn't have Control B and Control U.
Like on a computer.
Yeah, So if you want to highlight a word in Hebrew, you don't make it all caps or anything like this. What you do is you repeat the word.
I see a lot of people that have Bibles, still some that do have physical Bibles. They highlight use a highlighter and highlight it in their Bible.
Yep. This one I have, and I've got one of my other Bibles as well highlighted. But in Hebrew, you don't do that. What you do is you repeat the word. Right?
Yes.
And so when God calls Abraham, all right, it's a term of endearment.
Yes.
So when Jesus says here, "Not everyone that calls out to me, Lord, Lord," so it's not everybody that's going, "Shout to the Lord," or
Yes.
Not everybody that does that is going to enter the kingdom of heaven. Only those who actually do what my Father says. On Judgment Day, and here's that scary word, many will say to me, "Lord, Lord," a term of endearment.
Yes.
"But I prophesied in your name. I healed people in your name. I did miracles in your name." And Jesus will go, "You're not coming in." And these are people that plead with the Lord to his face that they were Christians. And he says, "No, I never knew you." He said, "I never knew." It doesn't say, Ian, it doesn't say on that day one or two. It doesn't say on that day a handful. And these are not Muslims and Hindus and Buddhists and atheists and Zoroastrians and Zen warriors or whatever. These are people who genuinely believe that they are saved just because they believe in their head. And that's what I was.
Yes. And just because you have head knowledge and you go to church every Sunday doesn't mean that you're going to go to heaven.
Yeah, and this is more than just head knowledge, though. This is, like Lord Gehring's got head knowledge.
Yes.
He's certainly not going. But this is, unless he repents, this is people that genuinely love the Lord.
Yes.
But many of them won't enter into the kingdom of heaven. Because why? Because they're not actually doing what they're supposed to do. And so I discovered that Christianity, being a Christian, is not believing Jesus died for my sins. Christianity outworked, and this is and again, with the Know My Faith teaching, what we try and bring out is that the Jewish understanding that the New Testament scriptures were written in,
yes,
faith is evidenced by works. Right? If you believe something, you will put it into practice. So that's what drives me at the moment is that. So I grew up in that Presbyterian Christian family.
Yes.
So always believed, and I've been through. I'm Presbyterian Baptist. Currently with the Brethren Church, pastored in Assemblies of God Church.
Yes.
We'll
talk about that shortly. Yeah. But before that, you were working at Rhema, I think, as a radio announcer.
Yep.
Were you involved with radio before that? I
got a sovereign call to go to radio from God while I was in Sydney, and he just gave the call sign, the 3 letters 4XO, which is the call sign of the main radio station in Dunedin at the time, and so I started there in 1987.
So secular radio.
In secular radio, moved through there, did all sorts of different things. And in fact, I'd resigned from secular radio. They'd asked me to play this little comedy piece. I don't know if you, back in the days like when Chicken Man was around and things, and a lot of these little comedy shows, 2-minute things, they had a little innuendos in them. Sort of like British comedy. This one, it was called Lucinda Lovejoy, and it was just disgusting, the whole thing. And I refused to play it, so I ended up leaving the radio station. And about a month later, Radio Rhema opened a new office in Dunedin. So I thought, I'll go on and support the office, and I got asked on that night, would I consider doing a few weeks over Christmas at the end of 1992 to give the regular announcers a break.
So that's how you became involved with Rhema?
Yeah, I signed up for 7 weeks, right? 17 years later.
Yeah, because I remember, I think I'm old enough to remember back in the, I think, 80s and 90s, there were offices of Rhema around the country.
They had, Rhema had, so head office was in Christchurch. There were regional offices in Invercargill, Dunedin, Nelson, Taranaki, Bay of Plenty, Auckland, all over the place.
Oh, yeah, because Rhema started in Christchurch.
Started in Christchurch, yep. After many, many years, it's Dick Berry got the call in 1961. It didn't go on air until the late 70s.
Yes.
It took a long time for that to happen. So I started there, and then and I made little concessions, and I won't show you any photos. But in those days, I had earrings and long hair, and Rhema had a dress code at the time. They still do have a dress code, but I said, well, I'll take the earrings out, but I'm not cutting my hair. So, but I stayed on with Rhema. Left for Bible college in beginning of '96.
Yes.
Came back, got a call from Andrew Urquhart, actually, because Rob Bielostocki had been doing breakfast.
Oh, yeah, he used to have long hair, didn't he?
Andrew did, yeah. He has cropped hair, I think, now.
Yes.
Yeah. So mid-1998, I got a call from Andrew, asked if I'd consider coming back. So I stayed there from 98 through to 2010 when I went to pastor the church.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I've actually been on Rhema myself once when I was younger. There was a kids program that I was on one year because for a lot of you who don't know my testimony, I was sick with chemical poisoning in 1990, almost died, and used to come up to Auckland fairly regularly. I was living in Hawke's Bay at that time, and one time when I came up, I was on the children's show. It was, I can't remember who was presenting it, but there was...
was that in Auckland?
Yes, at Rhema.
It was either Stu Duval or me. Was it live?
Yeah, it was live.
On a Sunday morning?
No, there was someone else. There was a man, there was a lady. I've got photos of it.
In Auckland?
Yes, it was in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Early 90s.
Oh, that's before my time.
Yes.
Yeah, but early 90s. Yeah.
Yes. So I have been on Rhema once.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Just once.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're all over the internet now, so
I am.
You're making up for it.
Yes.
It's amazing how God's changed that around for both of us. Yeah.
Yes. So you mentioned that after Rhema, you went to pastor the Keri Christian Centre. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, when I was working for Rhema, I'd been doing very much the same as what I do now, and that's travelling around the country talking in churches. And the Christian Centre had an advertisement in the back of the Challenge Weekly for a pastor.
Yes.
So I emailed and I said, look, I'm not interested in the job, but if you don't have a pastor, I'm happy to come down and speak on a Sunday morning. And the secretary said, yeah, that's great. We'd love to have you. And as we're trying to work out a weekend that suited both of us, because can you come this weekend? I go, no, I've got Promise Keepers. Well, can you come this? I can come this weekend. And they go, no, we've got Jeff Wickland. I go, what about this weekend? No, I'm in Australia with the grandchildren. So in amongst all of that, the secretary just writes at the end of one of the emails, P.S. Have you ever considered pastoring? And in my mind, my answer was, yes, I have, and I've thrown that consideration out. And God just tapped me on the shoulder and he said, you type YES, send. And I'm going, but that's not the right answer. He goes, yes, it is. And so within 12 months, I was pastoring that church, the Keri Christian Centre, and I did that for nearly 10 years, 9.5 years.
Yes.
And so since then and now, I've done things like narrating audiobooks.
Yes.
For various different people, for Ariel Ministries, Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum.
Yes.
For Creation Ministries International, I've done a couple of New Zealand young people's Christian novels.
Yes.
So and working now full time for Know My Faith, doing the podcasts and writing articles and again travelling around.
Yeah, so I've been watching your show, and you've had some interesting guests on the show recently, like Ray Comfort, Nigel Woodley from Ebenezer, New Zealand, and Jeremy Dempsey from OAC Ministries. So how did that all come about?
And Andy and Sinclair from Church Online.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, so how did that all come about?
I'm not sure actually. It grew. It was something I think Don's the boss at Know My Faith, and
Yes.
Don Thompson, and it's something that Don's had in the back of his mind the whole time and wanting to do,
Yes.
but didn't really have a host to do it with.
Yes.
So what we want to do is we want to talk to people. So again, at Know My Faith, and for me personally, the more you know your scriptures,
Yes.
the more likely you are to go and tell other people about Jesus. The problem is, so many people don't know their Bibles. So many people that have been in the church, and this is one of the things. And I don't say this about people in the Christian Centre, so don't get me wrong with this from the Caddy Christian Centre. But having been a pastor for nearly 10 years, I realised how spiritually immature a lot of people that have been in the church for a long time are.
Yes.
They don't, you say, that story in Numbers where the old man's picking up sticks, and they go, huh? Oh, the story about David did this, huh? So we want to teach, but we want to teach the Bible. The first rule of systematic theology is, what did the original readers understand the person to mean? And because we've thrown that out, we start making up things. For instance, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. Now, nobody knew what that meant, so they invented this story about the camel gate in Jerusalem, and there was never anything like that. Camels can't even, once they get on their knees, they can't move.
Yes.
Right, so the whole thing was made up because of a lack of understanding. Another example, when Jesus touched the leper, the man with leprosy came to Jesus and he says, if you want to, you can heal me, and Jesus touched him and healed him, and we go, hang on, he touched a leper, that would make him unclean. So people go, well, Jesus overruled the law of Moses. You go, no, he didn't actually, because if you read the whole Bible, you read what Luke says is the man was full of leprosy. And when you go back to the law in Deuteronomy, it says if somebody's completely covered in leprosy, they're no longer unclean, so you're quite legally allowed to touch them. So we want to teach people what the Bible actually says. And I think we do that from looking at that historical and cultural context of the scriptures, so that people don't teach rubbish, so that Jesus is going, now you understand me a little bit more. And so that they're enthused to go out. And so what we do is we grab people who have that evangelistic mindset of telling others about the Lord, but are also able to expound the scriptures from that viewpoint.
Yeah, so with what you've been saying, is that how Know My Faith came about?
Mostly, yeah. There's another organisation that we run, which is called Yesh. Now, Yesh is involved in hosting Israeli travellers through the country. Most of the hosts are Christians, but they're very unaware of, again, the connection between Christianity and Judaism, and they don't know how to talk to their guests about Yeshua. Some of them are a little bit too over-enthusiastic about doing it. Some of them are a little, again, ignorant of that connection. And so Know My Faith sort of grew out of not just for those hosts, but for others to say, this is the connection. Most of the Israelis that travel here they're unbelievers. They're as secular as the man on the street in New Zealand. And they don't want to come to New Zealand and be Bible bashed by a whole bunch of Christians. They want to come here and have a good time. And so, and again, but the thing with what Jesus says, he says, show people your faith. Right? If I bang you on the head with the Bible and say, Ian, you must believe this, use that South African, you must believe, you're just going to sit there, fold your arms, right? And you go, I don't want a bar of what you're talking about. But if I show you there's something different about me, then you're going to ask, well, why are you different? So that's where Know My Faith kind of grew. The Yesh side is not an evangelistic outreach to Israelis at all.
Yes. So how did you become involved with Know My Faith?
Probably through, Don is on the board of Ariel New Zealand, which is Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum's.
Yes, I've heard of Ariel Ministries.
So What happened was, I don't know if you've ever heard Dr. Fruchtenbaum speak, and I'm pretty sure he won't mind me saying this, but he's not the most entertaining speaker. But he also realized, he's pretty smart though, he realized that today we're living in a world of audio books.
Yes.
Right, and he realized that he was not the person to narrate his own books, so that the call went out around the world, we need someone to narrate Dr. Fruchtenbaum's books. And Johan van Vuren, who is the New Zealand director of Ariel Ministries, he goes, I know the perfect guy, I used to listen to him on Radio Rima. And so they asked me if I would narrate the books, which I did, and then Don and Johan got together and talked, and the end result is me with Know My Faith.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, it's amazing how God works, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You know, to me, Ian, it's like I say to people, find out what your purpose is.
Yes.
Right now, my purpose is not to make podcasts. My purpose is not to wasn't to pastor a church. My purpose wasn't to be a Christian broadcaster or whatever. My purpose is to use the voice that God gave me,
Yes.
to influence people for Him.
Yes. And certainly with the way the internet's working, moving, it's now videos and live stream, and I believe God's using that to really be able to speak to people, and wherever they are, they can watch it on a mobile phone or on their laptop or on their TV.
Yep, and we haven't gone to the live streaming yet. Although we're talking at the moment of doing some Zoom round the table discussions.
Yes.
And picking topics that are particularly relevant that people. I mean, I'm just in the middle of writing a Bible study at the moment, so
Yes.
that's another thing I do with Know My Faith is Bible studies, and the topic is on what happens when we die. What does the Bible talk about death? Because the Old Testament, obviously written in Hebrew, uses the word Sheol,
Yes.
which is the Hebrew word. The New Testament, written in Greek, uses the word Hades.
Yes.
But you've also got in there Abaddon, you've got Gehenna,
Yes.
you've got the lake of fire,
Yeah.
you've got Abraham's bosom. What are all these things? And people don't know. Christians don't know what they are. So I'm writing this Bible study. It's just and it's based on Fruchtenbaum's work too. This is what the Bible says happens, because people want to know. It's the three big questions.
Yes.
Where do I come from? Why am I here? What happens next?
Yes.
So this is in the what happens next.
Sure. Well, your show is actually live streamed, because when I talked to Don, he said that I could stream your show out on Church Online New Zealand, and I've been doing that and in the groups. So you already are on live stream.
We're live streaming that way. That's good. Well, we're gonna do probably do on our own Facebook Live. We might. I don't know, can you connect the two Facebook pages to do a double live stream?
Yes, you can. Because when you go into the Facebook Live options, it asks you if you want to share it to another page. So
Excellent. So we'll do that sometime, and we'll get some of these people that I've spoken to.
yes,
We'll grab a topic that's being talked about, and we'll discuss it from that way. So
yeah. So if you are managing the page, you can share it to another page as well, or you also can share it.
Don and you can work out that.
Or you can share it to other groups.
Yeah.
In your live streaming.
It's amazing what you can do.
So I don't want to give any spoilers away, but if you don't mind, can you tell me what guests you have coming up on Know My Faith in the future?
Well, we've got this guy, Ian Sinclair from Church Online New Zealand. We're going to be talking to Perry Trotter. Perry is, you may have seen the Auschwitz Now exhibition, which is currently, he also ran an exhibition called Shadows of Shoah. Shoah is the Hebrew word for the Holocaust.
Yes.
And he runs a website called Evangelical Zionism. It's interesting. There's a lot of Christians that love Israel, and they do tours. And I remember talking to Jerry Bulow when Sharon and I were in Israel a few years ago. And Jerry is a Christian tour host. And he does mostly evangelical tours of the Holy Land. And he says they just don't get it. Right? They love Israel, they love Jesus, but they don't get that connection, how we as Gentiles are grafted in alongside Israel to those promises that God gave to Abraham. And so what's happened is there's an awful lot of evangelical Christians who are actually anti-Israel.
Yes.
Right? They love the land of Israel, but they're not all that fussed about Jews being in the land of Israel. So Perry talks about that with his ministry, so I'm looking forward to talking to him about that. We have a couple who the wife is an Israeli-born Jew, and the husband is a New Zealand-born Lebanese Arab.
Yes.
Right? They both love Yeshua. They both love the Lord. And so we go, how does that work? Because the whole Arab Jew thing is pretty volatile most of the time. And we'll still look for more people. I'm online at the moment looking for people. There's one guy who I've got to chase up, and he talks about Messiah in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which I don't think I've heard anyone talk about that at all.
Yes.
So I'll hunt him down and we'll talk. So yeah, that's just three of them that are coming up.
Yes. Well, thank you, Rob. It's been good talking with you today.
Yeah, it's been great. And we wish you also all the best with what you're doing online. My older brother runs several Christian websites.
Yes.
Back in, when was the end of the world? 2012, wasn't it? Was that the one?
There was a movie made about it, yeah. But I think we're still waiting.
We are. Around that time, Jeff did one of those reverse Google searches, what phrases are people looking for? And one of the biggest searches at that time, because of the whole Nostradamus thing and the Mayan prophecies, was end of the world 2012. I think it was 21st of January or something that was supposed to end. So Jeff built this website called endoftheworld2012.net.
I think I've seen it.
It was, if you typed in, because he did all this search engine optimization and everything, and because he utilized a lot of friends, right? So he built the site, and then he would email all of us, and he'd say, "Can you type in End of the World 2012 in a Google search? Go to page 96." Right? Who goes to page 96? Go to page 96, click on my website, go to a couple of pages, and then log off. Don't go on to any. And then a week later, he would email back, "Can you type in End of the World 2012, go to page 14. Right? Sort of jumped up. So he actually had that website at number one. It was above CNN, BBC, Wikipedia, National Geographic, whoever. He stayed at number one for I don't know how many months. So if you typed in End of the World 2012, his website was the first one. And he ran on there. He gave lots of information about all these prophecies about the end of the world, but he also put that good person test in that Ray Comfort does.
Yes.
And I can't remember the exact figure. I remember Dave Mann from the Hope Project was blown away by it. I think it was 7,500 people made a profession of faith. Right? First time profession of faith by looking for information about the end of the world. Yeah, so the online things, they have incredible ability to reach people for the Lord. It's the, Jesus came the first time. The Romans had built the roads.
Yes.
Right? The Greeks had given us the language.
Yes.
The Romans had built the roads. So the gospel was able to go out. Well, the language now is English.
Yes.
And the road is the internet.
Yes, and I think God can use both the internet and also the physical to reach people for Christ.
Always the physical. I live in Katikati, so we do these podcasts mostly. This one's in Auckland at the Christian Ministry Centre in Onehunga, and so we say thank you so much for allowing us to use the building. We mostly do them in our studios in Garden Place in Hamilton. So yes. I travel over. I work 2 days a week in Hamilton. The other day, as I'm driving back, here's a guy with his thumb out. Right, he'd actually been in Thames. He'd been arrested in Thames, taken to the courts there, but they were closed. So they brought him to Hamilton, left him there overnight, and said, "Find your own way home." So and what do people do when you pick up hitchhikers? What do they ask you? What do you do for a living? Okay,
Yes.
excellent. So one-on-one, talking about the Lord, or online, one to thousands.
Definitely those things are a great opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, and that's what I love about when we were talking before. It's seeing the opportunity, realizing that that's what we're called to do.
Yes.
We are not called to sit in church and wait for the
Lord to return.
The Lord to return. We are called to go and make disciples. We are
Yes.
called to shine our light, as Jesus says in Matthew 5, shine your light before all men that they see your good works, which means you've got to do something,
And will glorify,
and
your,
glorify
Father,
your
in heaven.
Father in heaven. You know? So that's what I try and encourage people to do, is to not just sit there reading their Bibles and watching online stuff, but to get out there and tell people about the Lord,
Yes.
which is what you're doing as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've certainly, when I came to Auckland, I was involved with street evangelism for a while. I used to go out on Queen Street on Friday nights with a group and speak to people about Jesus.
Yep. We used to go out when we were up here. We went out Wednesday nights doing a sausage sizzle in Aotea Square.
Yes.
Right, because these guys, these street people, they needed food, so we go and feed them. And if somebody asks you the question, see, this is what I say to people. In Peter, it says, always be prepared to give an answer for the hope that you have within you.
Yes.
The easiest way to give an answer is if somebody asks you a question. So I say, Lord, get that person to ask me a question, right, and then answer their question. But again, it's being prepared to do that, because I don't want to, these many people that Jesus talks about in Matthew 7, I don't want that on my watch.
No, I don't want it on my watch either.
No, I don't want anyone to go, imagine if you were one of those many people and you genuinely thought you were saved, you genuinely love the Lord, you're in church singing this, that, and the other thing, the Revelation song, and it's all, it's all heart, and you stand before the Lord and he goes, Ian, I'm sorry, you weren't actually saved.
I'd say, but God, I went to church every Sunday.
Yeah, but imagine if your pastor was standing beside you. You'd be going, well, what were you teaching me? Because you said I was saved.
Yes.
Right, and that's a huge responsibility on us as teachers and pastors.
Yes. I think there's a saying, I think a lot of us have probably heard the saying, that going to church doesn't make you a Christian any more than going to McDonald's makes you a
Makes
hamburger.
you a hamburger. That's right. Yeah. No. And going back to what I said before, I grew up in a Christian household. I have always believed in the worst of my times living that other life.
Yes.
I always believed Jesus was God and that he died for my sins. I never ever stopped believing that. But I got to a maturity place where I realized that Christianity is not simply this Western mindset of believing.
Yes.
It's when the Bible says believe, it's from the Jewish mindset, which means your belief, the actions follow your thoughts.
Yes.
And so being a Christian, there's a lot of people who believe Jesus is Lord that aren't going to heaven, right? Believers don't go to heaven, followers go to heaven.
Yes.
Anyway, see, now you get me teaching all the time. So anyway, I think we'll just keep going around in circles and talking the same stuff, because that's our intention, is to see you, if you're watching this or listening to this, is to see you get to a mature point in your faith where you realize that God is calling you to do something. He's created you to do something for him. He's created, it says that, that we are his workmanship, created in him to do good works that he prepared beforehand for us to do. And that's a point where you come to through reading the Bible, through spending time with the Lord, and through practicing doing it. And so I encourage you, check out Church Online. And the other things that Ian is doing, check our websites and our podcasts and all sorts of things. And Ian, it's been great. We, keep doing what you're doing.
Great having you interviewing me here too.
We'll shake hands on it.
So just a reminder, New Zealand Christian events and conferences, we're on Facebook. Just search us up, Church Online New Zealand on Facebook as well. So if you just search for that, you'll find us.
Now we have to argue about who finishes this. Let's just say amen.
Amen.
Amen.